of new turn. Oh well, one new straight name, the Sir Lewis Hamilton straight. Sir Lewis Hamilton, is he a sir?
He is indeed a sir, receiving his knighthood over the off season, the Sir Lewis Hamilton Straight, replacing the Pitt Straight name on the Silverstone circuit. So yeah, it's a great recognition for the now Sir Lewis Hamilton. So we'll have to take that into account when talking about it today, obviously.
Yeah, so that's where we are spectating from now. Here, looking down up on the paddock pass members up there above the garage is the Ferrari now going out on the Inters again. We see Joel do that every week, but the Ferrari now going out on the Inters as well.
Yeah, I spoke to Joel about that after the final, sorry, the last week's qualifying. He said that's his little tradition that he likes to do. It sets him up for qualifying, and when he goes on to those drier tires, it just makes him feel so much more confident. Obviously, with the much better grip. So yeah, it's his little strategy. Obviously, other drivers trying to employ that this week, with the Ferraris doing it as well.
Interesting. Last week's winner, Torben Schutt. What can we expect from him this week?
Well, obviously in Austria, it's a much shorter circuit, not as many fast corners as there are in Silverstone. Obviously, the likes of Maggots and Beckett's incredibly fast corners, some of the fastest on the F1 calendar. So it's a very different circuit, but we'll have to see what Charlie can do. Obviously, that confidence from winning that last week's race is going to be very apparent this week.
Beautiful sight right now. Both the Silverstone team cars, both the racing points, side by side through the turns of the lap.
Yeah, definitely. It's a nice thing to see. Obviously, Joel's out on those intermediates, as we said earlier, and his teammate on those soft tyres. Something we would expect to see in Q1, with Joel going for a very unique helmet design this week, by the looks of it.
Yeah, I've spoken to the driver, and he said it's supposed to represent all of the aspects of the Union flag, the flag of his home nation. He stayed out for some reason.
Potentially go for another lap on those inters, maybe trying to set that time lap. You know, that positive delta may fill him with confidence as well, which is apparently what this whole inter run is all about.
Yeah, I mean, talk about confidence. I mean, he was P3 last race, but he definitely could have been up there in towards the top two positions.
Yeah, definitely some great running there from Joel last week in Austria. Obviously struggling on these intermediates, as you would expect, considering we are in dry conditions. But yeah, I will love to see what he can do this week. Very fast driver, and I think Silverstone will suit his driving style.
That back end loves to kick out in the Inters, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, not designed at all to be in these sorts of conditions, considering it's a beautiful weather over the Silverstone circuit at the moment.
I mean, if we look at Joel, he set a green sector time. Obviously, it's his first lap, so he's always going to set a green sector, but green sector on the green tyres in the green track conditions as Casper Meach goes into the P1 position, the first driver to set a valid time.
Obviously, Casper Meach on those soft tyres. As I said, you'd expect to see them all on soft tyres in Q1 other than Foxhall at the moment, but we'll see him on soft tyres later. With the two McLarens now setting times about 1.5 seconds off the pace of Casper Meach this far. Lots of times coming in now, about half a second off at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, all of the drivers now setting the times. Both the McLarens need to get a good start. I mean, obviously, Josh has got his points. He's got the first points of his season back in Canada, but it really isn't good enough from them too, is it?
No, that's not a great benchmark run from the two McLarens. Obviously, quite a significant margin, with Josh being 1.7 seconds off the current fastest lap by Max Chapman, which is a 1:25.1. So yeah, that's quite a significant margin. Obviously, I'm not too sure if there was any traffic on his initial run, but he'll no doubt go again and hopefully get into Q2.
Well, this certainly isn't Josh's home race, but it's damn enough closest, because they don't have an Irish track. Josh has sort of petitioned, put his word in to the FIA about an Irish track. He said he wants the Dublin track in there, but I don't think it is FIA Grade 1 standard.
No, this is definitely the closest Josh will get to his home race. Obviously, as you said, no race in Ireland, but yeah, this is the closest he'll get. Obviously, the McLaren home race being a British team at heart. So yeah, it's a sentimental race for him as well as the team.
Now, we talked about the Mercedes equipment upgrade, but it just doesn't look like it's going to be ready in time for Hanmore. We said he may be streaming the British Grand Prix. It'd be good because it is his home Grand Prix, as it is about 15 other drivers on the grid, their home Grand Prix. But yeah, I mean, it's really interesting because they just haven't got that development on in time of that new Mercedes W11 wheel.
Yeah, obviously not what we would expect from a team like Mercedes, but obviously having their struggles with the wheel, by the looks of it, no doubt we'll get some updates on that throughout the week, and hopefully Hanmore will be able to do his stream of his brand new wheel in the future. We're really looking forward to that, or at least I am really looking forward to it.
Make sure you go and check that out. But on the moment, he's on a flyer. He's coming here through the windy first sector. He's gone through Farm and Chapel. He's now on the Wellington Straight down towards Brooklands, coming here through Luffield. And this is one of the most important corners to get right. If you don't get it, your entry into Woodcote, which he goes through right now, can compromise as he goes down the National Straight.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, as you said, getting that exit out of Luffield's really important. You don't want to spin your rear tyres on the exit corner because there's gravel just on the exit. It's really easy to lose a lot of time there. And as you said, it's flat from Woodcote all the way up to Maggots and Beckett's, which is going here through here now.
Yeah, Maggots, Beckett's, and Chapel are the three most difficult corners on the track. It's such a quick left-right motion, and Ian definitely did that with ease.
Yeah, definitely. Some of the best, in fact, probably the best complex of corners on the F1 calendar at the moment. It's such, it's so enthralling. It's amazing to drive on the game, let alone in real life. So, yeah, it's a great circuit, Silverstone. One of my personal favourites.
Although he's being outshined right now, in the top flights was Robinson. He was P3 for quite a few moments. That's a really, really good lap from him.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, Robinson in P6, about 7/10 off Max Chapman at the moment. Obviously, with Max Chapman's being such an incredible benchmark, with him being a really good qualifier, it's not too bad. Obviously, being a P6 at the moment is Jay Robinson. So a good benchmark run from the AlphaTauri driver.
Last week, at the very end, the weather conditions really set the drivers apart, and towards the end, actually caused this man, number 19, Titan, the win. He lost his rear going through the middle sector, and just how much of a detriment was that to his race?
Oh, massively. That was such a shame for Titan. Obviously, I felt like we were cursing all the drivers driving on that day because whenever we spectated them, they spun. But yeah, Titan right at the end on the final lap, his teammate closed in that much that he was able to capitalize on Titan's mistake. And obviously, Titan lost that win, I feel, last Sunday.
Titan touches the grass going into Vale, and that's lost all of his time. He's about 13 seconds out as he had to go wide, but I'm sure now he will start his proper flying lap.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, touching the grass slightly, as you said, but he's looking pretty strong at the moment, is the Ferrari driver. Nice and planted on the track. A good setup by the looks of it. Maybe he's been working on it all week, no doubt, with his teammates. So, yeah, he's looking good at the moment.
Thank you to all of the supporters out there who do support Kenco F1. Remember that at any time, your support is much, much appreciated, and it's definitely not necessary, but all of the proceeds will go to a good cause, such as the charities that we support that get kids into karting and racing.
Yeah, definitely. It's one of the best things I think about this whole league is that all the proceeds do go to charity. It's one of the best features of it, in my personal opinion, other than the great racing, of course. But yeah, it's a great thing that you're all contributing to, and we really appreciate it.
Thank you to everybody who is joining us, and even to those of you who just can't afford to support us. Your being here is good enough as well. But Titan comes down into the final sector. He's just come through Stowe into the Vale chicane, through Club onto the Sir Lewis Hamilton straight here. And what time is he gonna set? Oh, it's not good from him.
Yeah, a bit slow. His first lap of 1:26.2. Obviously safe at the moment, being in P15, but with lots of more times to come, I would expect. So yeah, he's not happy. He's not gonna be happy with that run, especially with his teammate up in P6 at the moment.
A drive through the pit lane here will cost you about 35 to 40 seconds, depending on what sort of changes you are making. Well, in a pit stop, that is the matter of that's a matter of half a lap. So realistically, you don't want to be caught in any first lap collisions here at Silverstone.
No, definitely, it's a massive penalty if you have one of those first lap incidents that you're talking about. Driver's going to want to keep clean on the first lap. Obviously, it's a long race a very it's a long circuit, so it's a long race, and yeah, they've got to keep their heads down at the start.
We are watching Torben Schutt, who was just exiting the pit lane. He's going to get on that throttle, going to do some practice starts, no doubt. Although he does seem to be coming straight out of the pits. How does a driver like Charlie prepare for his hot lap?
Well, coming out the pits, he's on old softs, 2 lap old softs. So he's done his out lap, his flying lap, and his in lap on these same set of softs. Obviously, doesn't want to use too many softs in the first session of qualifying, which is pretty sensible. He feels that he can get some more out of these tyres. So we'll have to see whether he can do that. But he's going to be preparing the car, getting the brakes up to temperature, getting the tyres up to temperature. Obviously, you have the tyre blankets, but coming down the pit lane, especially as longer pit lane as Silverstone, you're going to lose a lot of temperature by the end.
I mean, he's sporting an all-red helmet design today, very much like that of Michael Schumacher, who raced for Ferrari back in the mid-2000s. And what a driver Schumacher was. He won 4 titles with Benetton, and then obviously the 3 with Ferrari. And yeah, what an absolute class racing driver. And is that sort of a nod to him, as it were, as he comes through the hangar straight?
Of course, Schumacher, one of the greats of Formula One, and a lot of people that watch Formula One, growing up, potentially watching in this league, racing in this league, watch Formula One growing up with Michael Schumacher racing. So, there's definitely that aspect. They could be Michael Schumacher, could be these drivers' idol, which is completely understandable. He was an amazing driver. Obviously, as you said, drove for Ferrari, so no doubt there's some sort of sentimental value behind Torben Schutt's Ferrari helmet this weekend.
Well, I tell you, I certainly didn't watch him growing up. Well, maybe in the days of his Mercedes, his final years in the sport. However, his true period of reign was before I was even born, back in 2004. That notorious F2004. What a car that was. But yeah, I wasn't even born yet.
No, same here, to be honest. As you said, I caught the end of his career in his final few years in Formula One driving for Mercedes, but that's about it, really. Didn't see his dominant days in the Ferrari and, of course, the Benetton. But yeah, a bit before our time, but we can still appreciate how much of an incredible driver he was.
And what an influence on the sport as well, the driving style and just the mentality that he has. And oh, Torben Schutt lost it going through. He's gone through cops. He's kept the foot flat, fair enough to him. But going through cops, he's lost his rear. Probably, I don't think he touched any of the curb, but definitely unsettling the rear as we talk about his old hero.
Yeah, definitely. That was very close to catching it, he was, to be honest with you, but just a bit too much oversteer, potentially a bit too much speed coming through cops. It is an incredibly fast corner nowadays with these 2020 regulation Formula One cars.
And we're going on board with Widdowson, who's currently on an outlap. He is on new soft tyres.
Obviously on those new softs, and P4 at the moment, so I'm surprised, to be honest, he's tried to go on those softs, but maybe he's expecting a large amount of track evolution and obviously some much faster times from people behind him. In P4 at the moment, just half a second off the current fastest lap, with P1, 2, 3 at the moment still deciding not to come out to set another run.
I tell you what, one thing I have noticed, number 47 in the Haas, is that a nod also to Michael Schumacher, or even his son Mick Schumacher, who is also racing in the Haas this year?
Potentially, obviously, as you said, Mick Schumacher racing for the Haas team in this season in real life Formula One, which is great to see the MSC back on the timing screens. Very reminiscent of those days we were talking about previously. But yeah, potentially a nod to the Schumacher family yet again. Obviously, very important in lots of these races' minds.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, some of these drivers are a lot older than you and I, Sam, and they will have grown up with them. And obviously, Torben Schutt, he is from Germany, and obviously that'll have an impact as well, along with the Rosbergs and the like of Keke Rosberg. Obviously, he was Finnish, but his son was German, and all of that business. But Widdowson starts his lap, and he comes through the first couple corners.
Is looking good at the moment. Is Widdowson coming through Village, a great space to watch the Formula One. I got a great chance to watch it in 2018, obviously where Hamilton spun, so not the best race to watch, but it was a good fun nonetheless. But coming through Brooklyn's looking good at the moment, and Loughford, this really important corner we were talking about, obviously getting a good exit's really important, because Woodcote is all the way to Copse is pretty much flat, so it's all about the straight line speed.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mean to out you, but as a Mercedes fan, how worried are you for the real life test? Are Mercedes sandbagging, as they always said? And is Ian Hanmore, the other Mercedes, sandbagging down in P11?
It's Mercedes. I can never tell with them, but I'm used to them sandbagging testing as Widdowson goes a bit wide coming out of Chapel and doesn't look like he's going to complete this run. He's aborted his lap by the looks of it. But going back to my point, it's Mercedes. They run their own testing strategies. Obviously, a bit disrupted. Not the mileage they usually get. Obviously, the least laps out of all the team, which is never good. Not the best way to. They are 7 times world champions after all.
7 times world champion, and it's Mercedes. Sorry, not Mercedes. It is number 6. It was for Hamilton 2019. Number 7 in sorry, was it number 7? Yeah, number 7 for Hamilton in this year, but it was obviously his 6th with the team. But looking for the 8th.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, potentially one of his final years of Formula One for Hamilton, which would be a real shame in my personal opinion. But yeah, will he be able to do it? I'm sure he will.
Yeah, sorry, we're just going to have to go and change some settings for a moment, but we will be back in just a second. Yeah, it's Mitchell that's coming down into the final sector, and he is going to have to try and get this lap through.
Yeah, obviously, some drivers at risk at the moment. Obviously, they're all fighting to get into Q2. That really important session that sets you up going into Q3, of course. We'll have to see whether they can do it.
He's coming down the final sector. His teammate seems to think he's safe. He's coming out. But Mitchell is staying in the pits.
Really, it may be. That's a tough one, really. Maybe he just doesn't feel maybe it feels he just doesn't have the pace to compete for Q2 today, which is a real shame for him. Obviously in P16 at the moment, and definitely not safe.
Amara also comes into the pit, so that's your 2 eliminatees. They will not be getting the time on the board, but James Wilson in that racing point, getting the toe of his teammate who's come out on old softs to give him a toe down the back straight. He is coming into the first couple corners. He comes through Abbey into Farm, and now he comes through Village onto the Wellington Straight, one of the longest straights here at Silverstone.
Yeah, an interesting strategy there with the 2 Racing Point boys. I'm not too sure if the toe was on purpose, but no doubt Wilson would have gained an advantage coming through the pit straight. Obviously, out of the way now, going down the Wellington Straight, so no advantage gained there.
Oh, and he's gone wide through Woodcote. And I tell you what, going there wide can compromise your entire lap.
Yeah, we've been saying that so often. Coming through Cops, obviously, you want as much speed coming through here. Almost amount of top line speed he lost after going wide.
Hanmore is not having a great night tonight, down in P13.
Yeah, the 2 Mercedes boys seem to be really struggling with their cars this evening, and
Oh, I'm not too sure what's happened there. I've just been messing with some of the settings here in the commentary box. I look back on the screen and Wilson is out.
And that's a massive crash, a really peculiar place to have it as well. Obviously, coming out of Maggers and Beckett's, but he's a significant amount down the Hanger Straight.
Yeah, did we see something like that with Kimi Räikkönen back in the past? I think that was on the Wellington. No, it was the Wellington Straight coming out of Village. He just took it wide, didn't he? And there was a huge crash there.
Yeah, that was very similar to that of Kimi Räikkönen. Obviously, we didn't see the full crash, but it looks like he spun halfway down the straight, sort of similar to that little incident of Torben Schutt, but he didn't catch it that time.
Yeah, it's really, really interesting what's going on there, but none of the drivers are going to have to challenge, because all of the drivers out on track, well, the only driver out on track is Widdowson, and he is in.
Yeah, nicely done, obviously. Finishing in P7, nicely done from the Haas driver. The 2 Haas's looking safe at the moment, with obviously O'Mara and Mitchell in the pits.
Amara says 2/10 from the points. I'm not too sure what he means there, because it is a Saturday, well, a Friday for us, but it's a Saturday, it's qualifying. There are no points for qualifying, they say, as we will go and have a look at one person who definitely wouldn't have got points because of his qualifying and his spin. He had James Wilson, so we were on board with him. We see him here coming through Maggots, Beckett's, and then he comes down on to the hangar straight, and what happens? He opens the DRS on the rear wing. He's spinning. He's warming his tires with the DRS
Yeah.
open, and that has meant he has had a huge spin into the barrier.
Yeah, that's not a good idea. I can't imagine he was losing that much tyre temperature, especially coming out of Maggots and Beckett's. That is those corners are very demanding on the tyres.
Well, I tell you what, if we look at that driver leaderboard, Joel Foxhall very close to Dylan Hartley, and Dylan Hartley very close to Casper Meech.
Yeah, very, very close at the top. We sort of see that quite often in the first sort of sessions of qualifying, but we saw that in last week, I think it was, with Max Chapman. But in the end, in Q3, he got pole by half a second. I mean, that's ridiculous, really.
But there's one thing for sure after Q1, both of the Alfa Romeo boys are strong.
Yeah, definitely. As usual, Max Chapman looking strong, as well as Casper Meech, of course, at the top end of the field. We're used to that site, obviously, the two Alfa Romeo boys being very, very strong in qualifying, especially Max Chapman.
Ian Hanmore making sure he is the first person out on track, but Josh Amaro just beating him to it. Adam Forbes. My apologies.
Yeah, obviously Adam Forbes making it into Q2, I should say. It's good to see a McLaren into Q2 in their home race. So I have to see what Adam Forbes can do. He's out on track first, obviously going to get that first fastest lap.
Another driver sporting a new helmet design. It looks very much like the old one that David Coulthard used to wear. Obviously, being the compatriot of David Coulthard, Adam Forbes will want to show his Scottish pride.
Yeah, looks like a very unique style of helmet. Obviously, going for that half and half design that we've seen quite a few drivers do this week. Obviously, as you said, representing the Scottish colours. So a nice helmet there for Adam Forbes.
Ian Hanmore is currently in P9, and what can he do on his hot lap? He got to P11 in the end, so he wouldn't have been safe if it were Q2. However, I'm sure he is wanting to give some sort of opinion to the home fans that are supporting not only the British driver, but the team that very much is synonymous with Britain. We look back to 2009, obviously Mercedes stemmed from Brawn. So back in 2009, Jenson Button with the Brawn GP Formula 1 team, they won their first and only driver's title, as well as the constructor's title. But that was their only ever season in Formula 1, and yet they won it. And Mercedes definitely carrying on that legacy of success.
Yeah, you're completely right. Obviously, 2009, an incredible season with Brawn entering for their first ever time and winning for the first time as well. It was a great season. But as you said earlier, Hanmore's impressing in qualifying quite a lot recently, so I think he's going to be good. He's on the soft tyres. Got a few medium runners, the likes of Joel Foxhall, Titan, Max Chapman, and Andre in the Red Bull, all going on mediums, but Ian Hanmore deciding to qualify on the softs by the looks of it.
Well, we have had the strategist talk from James. You normally hear on the radio, Valtteri, it's James, but this time it is Ian, it's James. And they said they're going to try and get into Q3 on the softs, and if they can't, well, they're going on the mediums.
That's an interesting strategy. Compared to Austria, the tyre wear is much, much greater around Silverstone. Obviously, with the medium and high-speed corners, very, very demanding on those tyres, especially coming through here, Maggots, Beckett's. Very, very demanding on those tyres. But we'll have to see how that plays out for them. We've obviously seen the alternate strategy really working out for a lot of drivers in previous races.
If you think back to the, it's an awful long time ago now, about 3 or 4 months, we think back to the actual 70th anniversary Grand Prix. Was it the 70th anniversary? I'm not too sure. One of the tracks this year, well, one of the races at this track this last year now. It's awful to think that we're in 2021. One of the tracks, I can't get my words out. One of the races here at Silverstone in 2020, we saw one of the Mercedes drivers on the hard tyre, nonetheless, losing their front left. I think it was Valtteri Bottas. And then we also saw the other Mercedes driver, Lewis Hamilton, in the final lap, losing his front tyre too.
Yeah, and I mean, what a sight that was. Lewis Hamilton winning a race with 3 tyres, and one of them just about staying on and very close to falling off. That was a incredible sight.
I don't know if you're if you would agree with me there, or if you would have a different opinion purely because of your your allegiance to Mercedes. However, many of the supporters of Formula One said he probably should have been forced to pull over due to it being unsafe to run on 3 tires. And Ian Hanmore through where is that? Where is he? He is in Cops, I believe that was.
Yeah, he just came out of Cops, lost the rear end coming out of Cops by the looks of it. He's carrying a lot of speed through there, and yeah, the car did not like it at all.
1 minute and 6 second lap from him already. Oh, sorry, 1 minute and 6 second sector. Oh, what has happened there? What has happened there?
Oh.
Ian, did that look like a stuck throttle?
Yeah, he just collided into the side of the Alfa Romeo of Casper Meach. That's a really peculiar incident. I'm not too sure if Hanmore saw him or not.
Well, it definitely looked like... I'm not...
That's
I'm gobsmacked. That looked like a stuck throttle.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we can have a replay on that, but that would be really good to look at.
Well, I tell you what, we will get a replay of that in just a second, but I'm going to go try and figure out what happened.
Yeah, that was a very peculiar one from Hanmore. He's out of qualifying because of that incident. And yeah, I'm not too sure. I really don't know if Casper Meach didn't see him. I can't believe that would be the case because Casper Meach was obviously behind. It was more likely that Ian Hanmore wasn't looking in his mirrors and he collided into the side of the Alfa Romeo, which is really unfortunate. Obviously, now costing him a place in Q3 for the race on Sunday. That's a really peculiar one, quite unexplainable to be honest. We'll have a replay on that, as Callum said earlier. But yeah, that's a really unusual one. You don't see that very often in Formula One. Very, very peculiar. But other than that, we've got Casper Meach in P1 at the moment with Torben Schutt about 600ths behind him. Max Chapman still yet to set a lap time, just now leaving the pits. I'm not too sure if he had to abort his previous run, but he's out on brand new softs by the looks of it. So he's going to be going for a hot lap. Obviously, I know what's happened. He was on the medium tyres before, but now we switched to those softs. So we'll have to see how that plays out for him.
I didn't go 6th fastest, but yeah, Ian, wow. Apparently, rumour has it in the paddock that he just wasn't looking where he was going.
Yeah, that is the only way I could really rationalise that incident. Obviously, Casper Meach was coming from behind him, so there's no way that he wouldn't have been able to see the Mercedes driver. It was just Ian Hanmore sort of not committing to either side of the straight, and he was just collided with Casper Meach.
Well, we'll go and get a team radio from what happened at that incident.
Oh fuck! I was looking in my mirror. No, I'm done.
Wow, some passionate words there from Ian. I mean, he's obviously not one of the drivers that would normally get angry, but he sounds so ashamed of himself.
Yeah, that is going to be a very frustrating incident. Obviously, completely avoidable. But yeah, I honestly cannot believe that's happened. We obviously saw him have that mistake coming out of Cops, but yeah, he wasn't committing to either side of the straight. I think that's what caused that incident, and obviously not looking around him.
Well, we'll go and get another look at that incident that happened. And yeah, it's Ian Hanmore coming down the hangar straight. Here he's coming through Beckett's into Chapel, and he's down the hangar straight. It looks almost intentional. I mean, he's looking in his rear mirror, but it looks almost intentional. I'm not blaming anything on Ian, but he definitely does turn in, whether that was to avoid the car behind. But we'll go ahead and watch that once again, just to analyse what happens. Just talk us through it, Sam.
Yeah, that's really weird. I thought Casper Meach was actually behind Ian Hanmore, but that sort of makes it worse because Ian's just drove right into the side of the Alfa Romeo, and he's sort of in plain sight, to be honest with you. And it does look quite intentional, but obviously I don't think it was.
I tell you what, that Alfa Romeo is lucky to come out with little damage.
Yeah, that is very lucky. Obviously, by the looks of it, Ian took most of that hit, but what a peculiar one. But luckily, Casper Meach still in the session. But unfortunately, Ian Hamill with that mistake, no more chance for him to fight in qualifying.
Well, Max Chapman, we are on board with him now. He comes down the Sir Lewis Hamilton straight, and he is P1 by about a tenth of a second.
Still very close between him and his teammate, obviously getting that advantage by about a tenth, as you said, going purple in the second and last sector. But Casper Meach still holding on to that fastest first sector.
Well, I tell you what, my timing screen's lit up like a Neapolitan ice cream there. We had a green first sector, a purple middle sector, and a yellow final sector. So that made it sort of look like an ice cream, and now I'm hungry.
Nice. I don't know what to say to that, to be honest with you, but obviously did improve on his final sector, still retaining that purple sector from a previous lap.
And Torben Schutt, last week's winner, is in P3. He comes now through the Vale chicane and onto the pit straight to start his probably final lap. Final flying lap of Q2.
Yeah, with about 5 minutes left in the session. Not too sure if he'll get another run in, but he's in P3 at the moment. Still trying to set a new fastest lap on a fresh set of soft tyres. So he's still not thinking that he can get through with this time. He's only 1.5 tenths off the provisional pole time at the moment.
Tell you what, I think it's more of a pride thing. He's had the taste of glory, and last week he said if he can do it again, then he certainly thinks that he should. I think I've worded that wrong. I think what I meant to say is if he could do it again, then he thinks he would definitely be within a shot of that. But 1.5 tenths is certainly enough to go on top.
Yeah, you would have thought so. I feel like that's a really important point you've just made there. Getting a win or even points can really boost your confidence as a racer. Obviously, I think that it's really had an effect on Josh O'Mara, obviously scoring his first points a few races back. We saw some great racing between him and Archie Middlefell last week. Obviously, the Renault sort of cut him off slightly in that racing, but Josh O'Mara was looking very, very strong, and he's really improved on his racecraft, I think.
Well, I tell you what, Mustard has had a really good time. Gone about 4 hundredths quicker than Torben Schutt as he comes around the final sector. He's gone 2 yellow sectors, unless his final sector is purple. It does not look like he will improve, and he does not improve. Unfortunately, there for Charlie, that is not great. However, he may be on another fly because he doesn't look to be slowing down.
Yeah, obviously not great considering he was on fresh softs, but he's looking fine at the moment. He's still only 1.5 tenths off that fastest lap, but Max Chapman is going for another fastest lap, and he's looking very rapid at the moment with beautifully purple sectors, all lighting up on my timing streets at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, Torben Schutt, yeah, a tenth in front into the first sector. Here's coming through Luffield, is where he bottled it last time, but he's got a nice exit now, and he's on to the national pit straight.
Yeah, and that is the time I would expect from Max Chapman. He's up by about just under 5 tenths to his teammate now. So, yeah, that's a significant margin, much bigger than less than a tenth with his previous lap.
Well, Forbes definitely doesn't think that he was... Well, it was worth wasting the durability of his car to go out for another lap, but he was P9 for most of qualifying too, so fair play to that McLaren driver.
Yeah, I think that's the closest Adam Forbes has ever been to Q3, which is really good for him. In P11 at the moment, as he said, probably not going to make it out for another run unless he's pretty quick. We'll have to see whether he decides to do it, but I imagine he won't. He's looking strong in P11 at the moment. Obviously going to have that free tyre choice for Sunday, so that's a good position to be in.
And last week's victor by 4 tenths goes second in the red Ferrari, but his teammate is starting... or is coming towards the final lap. But one person I'm interested in is Jay Robinson down in the final position. He has got 2 green sectors, 4 tenths behind. He comes through Club and across the line to go faster than his teammate.
Nicely done. Obviously gained about 5 tenths on his lap, which is good for him. Up into P6, so he's safe at the moment. But still a few lap times to come from the likes of Joel Foxall, Titan, Robbie Welsh, and Alex Rinser in the Red Bull.
What about Welsh's lap? Do you reckon he'll have chance to make it?
Welsh in P13 at the moment. He's an incredibly strong driver in that Renault. We haven't really seen him at the top for the past few races, but he's a very fast driver in when he has a good day. So he's about 2 tenths down in his first sector, which is, to be honest, quite a lot considering the first sector times are very, very tight at the moment. So he's gonna have to have a good second and third sector. But I'm not sure. He goes very wide actually coming out of Cops, taking a lot of that exit curb. I'm surprised the game didn't invalidate his lap, but coming through, Maggots, Beckett's, and now Chapel, he's looking good. Gonna get a nice toe with that DRS from, by the looks of it, either an Alpha Tauri or some sort of white car in front of him. He's getting a beautiful toe coming down the hanger straight, coming towards Stowe, getting almost got up by the Alpha Tauri, but got out of the way just in time. But I did think that AlphaTauri got in the way slightly. He's have to abort his lap.
Why has he come into the pits? I mean, it didn't look like he was in the way that much.
I'm not too sure. Coming through Stowe, he did have to slightly lift off. I mean, obviously, you want to brake for that corner, but sort of midway through the corner, you can expect to stay on the throttle. But I don't know if that AlphaTauri just sort of affected him with the dirty air. Coming through Stowe, obviously, a very tricky corner could have affected his lap. Sorry, could have affected his tyre wear.
But we're on board with Joel, who is now coming down the Wellington Straight. Obviously, Silverstone used to be an RAF base, and this was the Wellington Straight because it's where the Wellington Bombers used to take off in World War II. Titan puts himself into P2 and is safe for qualifying 3. But Joel here coming through Luffield and into Woodcote is now going to go onto the National Pit Straight. Robbie Welsh is out, unfortunately for him, but coming here through Cops, he's going to keep the throttle pinned as he would normally. Coming now, Maggots into Beckett's, and then finally into Chapel. Now, before coming onto the hanger straight, he keeps it nice and tight. He's gone green in the first sector. His DRS on the rear wing opens, giving him about 7/10 of extra pace down that back straight. He's 2/10 off of Chapman's time. That would put him in solidly in P2, but now he comes into the final sector. He's going through Stowe currently into Vale, and that chicane that entails. Now he comes through the final couple corners and on to Club and the Sir Lewis Hamilton pit straight. Is he going to go P2? No, he's going to go P5.
P5 for Joel in Q2, still very much safe to get in to Q3, so nicely done for the Racing Point drive. I'm not sure if he's leaving a bit on the table just so he has that stellar performance in Q3, but he did enough to get into Q3 today, so well done to him.
Alex Rins is coming through the final turn, but it looks as though he is in the low fuel mode of his car. And that's all 4 drivers eliminated. Both of the Renaults. Adam Forbes missing out on his first qualifying 3 session by 2 positions. And the Red Bull of Rinser.
Still a great effort, though, from Adam Forbes, I think, in P12. I'm sure that is the closest he's been to Q3, so well done to him.
Yeah, well done to him. But Chapman's still decidedly on top. Only 3/10 separating them for the Ferraris, though. It looks as though the Ferraris are taking it to the Alfa Romeos.
Yeah, we have actually seen that in the past few races. I feel with, obviously, Torbjörn taking that win last week. None of the Alfa Romeos were able to take that win with Matt Chapman finishing in P4. But yeah, the Ferraris proving a good threat to the Alfa Romeos at the moment.
We've just had a submission from one of the fans watching at home. They seem to be laughing out loud at the incident between Casper Meech and Ian Hamill. We'll see if we can get a preview of that for you in just a second, but that was absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, watching that incident back, it does look really peculiar, to be honest. Very out of character from Ian Hamill. The only way I can describe it is it does look really purposeful, but it's obviously not. Just one of those fluke incidents by the look of it.
Yeah, one of those fluke incidents that seems too real to be true. However, we're going to go get a source set up for you just in the start of qualifying 3. Nothing too much is going to happen whilst these drivers are going around the track. We are going to stay on the intermission screen and get this media source playing for you just so you guys can see how funny that incident was. Right, we're going to go have a look at this now. So we'll go and show this fan submission. Oh, you can't hear it. Hang on. Bear with me. Got technical issues, boys. We'll go back to the intermission screen for 1 second. Well, I can't get it to work. We'll go ahead and try and watch it one more time. Oh my god, so many intros. It's amazing. Absolutely amazing. But yeah, we'll have to go and watch the actual racing rather than the bumper cars that went on last session.
Yeah, all the cars now out on track. They are all out on track, with Casper Meach being the first person to start his flying lap now coming up towards the village.
Yeah, I mean, coming down here is some of the most elite drive and skill that is required. Not too sure what's going on there with the AlphaTauri uniform there of Dylan Hartley, but he's warming his tyres in preparation for his lap.
Yeah, he's got a good opportunity, obviously, into Q3 on those soft tyres. Gonna have them in the peak condition, all nicely warmed up for the start of his flying lap. It'll be interesting to see what Dylan Hartley can do in this session. Obviously, we've seen some incredible races for him this far in the league. Didn't quite see that in Austria, but I have to see what we can do this week in Silverstone.
Yeah, I mean, on the soft tyres, is that the strategy for this race? He qualified on the softs.
Yeah, by the looks of it, the whole grid deciding to start on those soft tyres, by the looks of it. So that's the strategy they've decided to go for. So let's see if that works out for him. Sorry, for them. That tyre wear is going to play into a lot of these drivers' hands, though, on Sunday.
Go ahead and talk us through Dylan Hartley.
Dylan Hartley coming through Luffield and towards Woodcote. Now, that beautiful exit from him, actually hugging the inside line there, trying to make the distance to this Wellington straight, the Hanger straight, as small as possible. And coming through Stowe, nicely done. A tiny lift, if a lift at all, coming towards Maggots, Beckett, and Chapel. I mean, those corners just speak for themselves. Nicely done, braking just before that Chapel corner. DRS wide open now, heading towards Vale and Club. Obviously, sorry, not Vale, heading towards Stowe. A really tricky corner using lots of the exit curb there. Nicely done, and coming up towards the Vale chicane now. Obviously, this is where Hamilton had that lock up with his 3 tyres. I thought it was all over there, but now coming through the Club, taking not too much of that exit curb, trying to avoid the sausage curb into P5. I'm about 8/10 off the current provisional pole time by Max Chapman.
Tell you what, a slight lift there from Dylan Hartley coming through turn 2, even though it was his in lap. I mean, it's very rare you see anyone lift through turn 1, sorry.
Yeah, that turn 1 now is completely flat for these F1 drivers. The incredible amounts of downforce means that, you know, he can just fly through there. But on that in lap, trying to preserve those soft tyres by the looks of it.
Titan now with the fastest middle sector. Good start from him.
Yeah, very nicely done. In P10, now coming up towards the Vale chicane, and Club ending. Sorry, this is the Vale chicane, and now Club avoiding that sausage curb again, and he goes P2, obviously losing a bit of time to Chapman in the final sector, I think.
Losing time to himself even. Yellow final sector there for the Ferrari driver.
Yeah, not the cleanest of laps, especially the final sector by the looks of it. Made the tyre wear dropping off slightly, but he is the closest driver to Max Chapman at the moment, with just about under 3/10 to him.
Now it's now all of the drivers' chance to get in the pits. They're all going to have to race to get into the pit lane. Obviously, a 50-km/h speed limit in the pits here because of the proximity of the cars to the drivers. And Dylan Hartley slowing down for the pit lane meter, just making sure he is within that operating range.
Yeah, it's a pretty long pit lane, as you said. Takes a significant amount of time to get into. So you want to make sure you have a good margin to get your second run in. I mean, with 6 minutes left in the session, that's more than enough time for these drivers coming in now.
And Chapman is coming in. He had a flyover lap, 1:24.7. Is it possible that we could see a 1:23 today?
I don't know. I mean, 7 tenths to gain in one lap's quite a lot, even for Max Chapman standards. But you never know. We'll have to see whether Max Chapman can pull an insane lap out of the bag. But he's looking pretty strong at the moment in the high 24s. But think we'll expect a bit more improvement on that lap time by the end of the session.
The only driver out on track who is going to be preparing for a hot lap or will not be coming into the pits at the end of their track session currently is Joel Foxall. We'll go ahead and talk through his lap, Sam.
Yeah, as you said, please don't come in. He's not coming. I thought he was going to come in then, warming his tyres up, coming towards the Vale chicane, kind to get that that tyre temperature as he powers through Club, now coming onto his final lap, his fastest lap, and the Sir Lewis Hamilton straight powering towards Abbey, which is going to be easily flat for him on his flying lap, taking as much of that curve there on the left to extend the corner as much as coming through Farm now. Nicely done. He upshifts just slightly to get that good traction on the exit of the corner, and now through Village and onto the Wellington Straight, as you said, gets its name from being that former RAF base up towards Brooklands. Hopefully we'll get a good braking, just before the 50-meter ball, perfectly done there for Joel Foxall. Gets a little bit of oversteer midway through the corner coming up towards Luffield, and Woodcote nicely done using the maximum amount of curb there, hugging this inside line as most of the drivers do, just to shorten that distance to this hanger straight coming through Stowe. He's going to be nice and flat by the looks of it, and beautifully done. Lots of downforce on that racing point by the looks of it. He's obviously gone green in that first sector coming through Maggott and Beckett now, and Chappell braking a little bit later by the looks of it. Then Dylan Hartley obviously going on that grass slightly, but you do see that from a lot of the drivers in real life. But the hanger straight now coming up towards Stowe. Nicely done there by the looks of it. He's gone onto the grass slightly, using a bit more of that exit curve again than Dylan Hartley, just using a bit more of the track, being a bit more adventurous coming through that Vale chicane. And Club, no, he goes too wide. He goes way too wide. He's going to lose a lot of time, but he finishes in P8. That was looking like a really clean lap up until that final incident there.
That's unfortunate for Joel, because that means he's got to continue. There's definitely not enough time for another in-lap or even out-lap, so Joel is out unless he can continue and improve on his lap, which I'm sure he can. But Robinson was P3 for some time of Q2.
Yeah, he's obviously in P9 at the moment. Both the Alpha Tauris in P9 and 10. I'm obviously going to go for that second run to hopefully improve on those times. But yeah, shame for Joel Foxall. That incident coming through Club, taking a bit too much speed on the exit of Vale. And yeah, that really did not pay off for him at all. And as you said, he's not going to have enough time to come in, replace those tyres, probably get a bit more fuel. So hopefully he'll have enough fuel on board. And I'm sure those tyres will be fine to get another flying lap in. But it's all about that fuel.
Both Widdowson and Titan deciding to stay in, doing what Max Chapman normally does, staying in that. And we're getting a view from the rear suspension of the AlphaTauri. Perhaps this is what Racing Point did in order to get their rear brake duct pictures.
Yeah, potentially. A great view, though, obviously seeing how that rear suspension really works coming through these corners, incredibly demanding. But a little update on Joe. He actually spun coming out of the Cops corner, and he's broken his front wing, so will not be improving. We've seen a lot of drivers do that, actually.
Well, Clasper doesn't think he can improve down in P6. He has retired from the session, but Jay Robinson, only 1/10 behind Chapman, coming through there. Titan and Widdowson are on their outlap, but will they make it round in 2 minutes, despite the, the slow pit lane there? We see, oh no, that's Casper Meach in the wall over there. He did not decide to retire. He decided to pay homage to Ian Hamill, who crashed into him earlier. He's in the wall, but Jay Robinson had to lift through the yellow flag in sector 2. Now 4/10s behind.
Yeah, that's a shame for Jay Robinson. Yeah, that's quite a significant margin. If he has a good final set, he may improve a few positions from P10. Coming through Vale's looking okay, a bit slow coming through. They're getting a bit unstable in the midsection of the corner coming through Club, and powering towards the finish line, and it will be P10 for Jay Robinson in Q3 today.
Dylan Hartley didn't improve by much either.
Yeah, P9 and 10 for those Alpha Tauris today. Not the best qualifying session by the looks of it. We'll have to see if they can get round again, but I'm not sure if they'll improve on older softs.
Torben Schutt is coming through the middle sector now. He's coming towards Stowe now. And Wow, he's gone yellow in 2 sectors on the older soft tyres. Do correct me if I am wrong. Yeah, that's really unfortunate for him.
Yeah, he's crossing the line now. He does improve slightly, coming up to P4, but still 4/10 off the provisional pole time of Max Chapman. I mean, he has the opportunity to go again on these soft tyres, which I think he might do, you know, just for the sake of it.
Well, his teammate Titan is on his only flyer left of the session. Max Chapman has got a 124.7, and Titan has got a 124.9. So, really interesting for Titan, but he's definitely used the time of the track evolution to make sure he's at his optimum pace, and he's making the most of that. And his fastest Sector 1 is apparent. However, Max Chapman has improved. He's a 124.5. That's still 4/10s for Titan to gain, but coming through Maggots, Beckett's, and now through Chapel, he has got a fastest Sector 1. Will his Sector 2 be quicker? No, it is slower for him. There is a yellow flag in Sector 3 because of that car above. The yellow flag board signs, and that's one of the AlphaTauris going slowly. He's going to get in the way once again through that final sector for Titan. He comes down towards the Vale chicane, down into Club. One of the hardest G-force turns on the entire track. He comes now and stays in P2. But the man behind him, Widdowson, is only seconds behind. And he also left on his flyer. He's coming now into Club. It doesn't look like he will improve. He hasn't improved.
Yeah, in P3, therefore Widdowson, but so close between Titan and Max, about 1/10 Max gains on Titan to get what looks like it will be pole position for him again this week. But yeah, really good fight in the end for that pole position, with Titan getting that fastest first sector.
Yeah, he lost it all on that middle sector. However, ladies and gents, that's going to be it for this week, with your man on pole being Max Chapman. Right, ladies and gentlemen, there's going to be no interviews for today, purely for the fact that it'll be just Max Chapman, like it is every week. But we'll go ahead and give a host over to someone who is maybe streaming a little bit of Flight Sim. How about Agent Squash? We'll go ahead and give a raid over to him. Obviously, if you don't know about Agent Squash and Ripley, they've just started a new podcast channel called Flight Sim Weekly, so do make sure you go ahead and check that out. Anyway, we'll see you on Sunday for another race of Kenco F1. See you later, guys.